There are three specific experiences that can psychologically dismantle a deeply feeling person, and you likely won't see them coming until it's too late. What makes these moments so dangerous is their silence. They don't arrive with drama or clear warning signs. Instead, they masquerade as normal relationship patterns, as everyday emotional exchanges. But if you navigate them without a specific protocol, you risk either losing your core self completely or being forced to shut down your deepest sensitivities just to survive. Today, we will identify these three critical thresholds, understand their destructive power, and I will give you the exact survival framework to move through them without self-annihilation. The foundation of this understanding comes from a revolutionary thinker in the field of depth psychology. He recognized that certain personality types face unique existential dangers that have little to do with conventional illness. His work on psychological archetypes and the journey toward wholeness created a new map of human consciousness. But it was his clinical observations of highly intuitive, feeling-oriented individuals that revealed these three pivotal and perilous moments. He documented case after case of people who were highly functional and deeply compassionate, yet who reached critical breaking points in their personal development. These were not crises of mental health, but crises of the spirit. He called them moments of psychic emergency, and how you handle them determines whether you move toward integration or remain stuck in a pattern of self-abandonment for decades. First, let's define the trait at the center of this: a profound level of empathy. This isn't just about being nice or a good listener. It's what he described as a kind of psychic permeability, a person with thin boundaries between their own inner world and the inner worlds of others. They sense hidden emotional currents, detect dishonesty on a visceral level, and absorb the psychological states of people around them, almost like an emotional tuning fork. This isn't a gift to be romanticized. It's a profound vulnerability that requires sophisticated strategies just to maintain basic equilibrium. The first deadly moment is the realization of one-sided exchange. This is the moment you finally truly understand that the deep empathy you extend so naturally is not being reciprocated. Not because people are cruel, but because they fundamentally lack the capacity or the willingness to meet you at that depth. This isn't merely noticing someone is less sensitive than you. That happens constantly. This is the devastating soul-level recognition that you have been operating under a false assumption about how human connection works. You unconsciously believe that if you cared deeply enough, listened well enough, and understood thoroughly, others would naturally offer the same in return. And in this moment, you see with absolute clarity that this is not true. It may never be true. The entire foundation your relational world was built on is fatally flawed. You are surrounded, yet utterly alone. I saw this repeatedly in my work. A person would provide endless emotional support and careful attention in a relationship, only to find, during their own genuine crisis, that the same depth of care was not available to them. The deadly part wasn't the other person's superficial response. It was what that response revealed. This dynamic had always been there. She had always been the giver, and the friend had always been the taker. She had just been too busy giving to notice the complete absence of mutuality. This moment forces you to confront a terrifying possibility. You might be psychologically alone in ways you never imagined. You are surrounded by relationships, but you now see them for what they are: one-sided performances where you play the role of the emotional container and others play the receiver. Once you see it, you cannot unsee. This is the shattering of your projections. You projected your own capacity for deep care onto others, assuming they experienced relationships as you do. When that projection is stripped away, the reality beneath is devastating. The danger here is the conclusion you draw. People typically swing to one of two extremes. They blame themselves, thinking, I must be unworthy of care, thinking, no one is capable of real empathy. Both are forms of psychological whiplash, swinging from the belief you can create reciprocity through sheer will to the belief it doesn't exist at all. Neither is true, and both are traps. The survival protocol for this first moment is what I call strategic investment. It's the psychological skill of discerning different levels of empathic capacity in different people and calibrating your emotional expenditure accordingly. This isn't judgment, it's essential discernment. It's the understanding that you don't plant a rare orchid in barren soil. It's not that the soil is bad, it's simply not the right environment for that specific flower. Similarly, some individuals are not capable of a reciprocal exchange, not because they are bad, but because they haven't developed that capacity. The protocol requires you to stop trying to grow orchids in deserts and instead find the fertile ground where mutual growth is actually possible. Practically, it looks like this. A co-worker consistently leans on you for support, and you provide it. Then, when you try to share a struggle, they offer unsolicited advice, redirect to their own issues, or seem visibly uncomfortable. The old you would have tried harder, explained better, or wondered what you did wrong. The new protocol has you do something radical. You accept the data. This person is not a vessel for reciprocal exchange. That's not a model failing. It's critical information. You then recalibrate. You remain cordial and professional, but you consciously redirect your deep, empathic energy to relationships where it can be reciprocated. The greatest burden a sensitive person can carry is the unconscious demand that every relationship must be equally deep. This is not nature's way. There are relationships of different depths, and the wise person knows the difference and invests strategically. The second deadly moment is the erosion of self through constant adaptation. This is even more insidious because it happens gradually. You often don't realize it's happening until it's nearly complete. This is the moment you realize you have been shape-shifting for so long, accommodating so many different expectations that you have lost track of who you actually are. Your own preferences, your authentic needs, your genuine reactions, they've all been buried under layers of adaptation. And in this deadly moment, someone asks you a simple question: what do you want? Or how do you really feel? And you are met with a terrifying internal silence. You genuinely do not know. I observed this pattern constantly, which I termed the persona prism. The persona is the social mask we wear. It's necessary and healthy in moderation, but highly empathic people often develop multiple, highly adaptive personas. They become so skilled at reading a room and providing what's needed that they create a different version of themselves for every person and context. Work sees one version, family sees another, friends see a third. None are fully authentic, because each is calibrated to manage the comfort and expectations of others. This moment becomes deadly when you realize the mask has fused to your skin. You are the persona now. There is no core self underneath to return to. One patient described it as feeling like a ghost. You appear substantial, but if someone tries to touch the real you, their hand passes right through. There's nothing there. What makes this moment so dangerous is the reactive swing. Once you realize you've been accommodating, your instinct is to rebel, to stop completely, to become rigid and uncompromising. But this isn't authentic selfhood either. It's just the shadow of your accommodation, equally unconscious and disconnected from your true nature. It's a pendulum swing from one extreme to the other, not a return to center. The survival protocol for this second moment is what I call the practice of authentic response. It's a dedicated process of interviewing your own psyche to rediscover your genuine preferences. You create quiet space to ask yourself simple questions and wait for true answers, not the answers you should give, not the ones that would please anyone else, but the ones that emerge from your actual self. You might ask, what do I genuinely enjoy? And then notice all the accommodating voices that rush in. Well, I should enjoy this, or everyone else likes that. The protocol requires you to gently set those voices aside and listen for the quieter, deeper voice of authentic preference. This is incredibly difficult because that voice has been silenced for so long, it's often just a whisper. You must learn to hear a whisper in a room full of shouting. This requires a willingness to disappoint. As you start to recover your authentic self, you will inevitably disappoint people who benefited from your compliance. You will have to say no to things you always said yes to. You will have to express preferences that confuse others. You will have to let people be upset or bewildered by your changing behavior. This is terrifying for someone whose identity was built on maintaining external harmony. But this recovery is non-negotiable for survival. Let me give you an example. You're invited to a social event. The old pattern has you automatically say yes, then spend energy managing your own resistance, performing an enthusiasm you don't feel. The survival protocol has you pause and ask one question. Do I actually want to go? Not should I, not what will people think, but do I, in my heart, want to go? And then you wait. You wait for the authentic response, which might be yes, no, or maybe just for a short while. And whatever it is, you practice disappointing people. You practice trusting that the relationships that matter will adapt to the real you. The third deadly moment is the awakening to ultimate solitude. This is perhaps the most spiritually profound and psychologically crushing of all. This is the moment you realize that no matter how deeply someone loves you, no matter how genuine the connection, they will never, ever fully comprehend your internal universe. There is an unbridgeable gap between your consciousness and theirs, and you will spend your entire life fundamentally alone inside your own mind. For empathic people, this is a special kind of hell because you've built your life on the belief that deep understanding is possible. You've worked so hard to understand others completely, and you unconsciously believe that if you just showed them how, they could do the same for you. And in this moment, you realize they cannot. Not because they don't care, not because they aren't trying, but because the solitary nature of conscious experience makes complete mutual understanding impossible. I saw people reach this point and fall into a profound existential despair. If complete understanding is impossible, what is the point of connection? If we are all ultimately alone in our own skulls, why even try? Some described feeling like they were in a soundproof room, able to see others but never truly reach them. Others felt they were speaking a language no one else could fully decipher, no matter how clear their translation. The temptation is to shut down, to withdraw, to stop trying to connect, to retreat into the only consciousness you can truly know, your own. I saw this as a form of spiritual death, a premature closing of the heart. True maturity requires both the recognition of this fundamental solitude and the courageous choice to connect anyway. Psychological maturity involves holding two opposing truths simultaneously without trying to resolve the tension. The paradox is this: you are fundamentally alone in your conscious experience, and genuine, meaningful connection is still possible. Both are true. The protocol requires you to stop seeking perfect understanding and start appreciating partial understanding. Instead of being devastated that someone can't fully grasp you, you learn to value the beautiful, imperfect understanding they can offer. I use the metaphor of two people on opposite shores of a wide river. They can never stand on the same bank, but they can wave, call out, and send messages across the water. The connection is real and valuable, even though the gap remains. Practically, it looks like this. You're sharing something profoundly important, and you sense the other person isn't fully grasping it. The old you would have felt frustrated, tried harder to explain, or deemed the relationship inadequate. The survival protocol has you say, perhaps internally, they're not fully getting this, and that's okay. I appreciate the understanding they are offering. You release them from the burden of total comprehension and release yourself from the burden of perfect explanation. Connection isn't about perfect understanding, but shared intention. This protocol also demands what I call deep self-companionship. If you are ultimately alone in your mind, you must become excellent company for yourself. You must cultivate a rich, compassionate, and curious relationship with your own inner world. You learn to witness your own experiences with interest and kindness. You become generous with your own struggles and appreciative of your own complexity. You stop abandoning yourself in a desperate quest for external validation and instead provide yourself with the understanding you've been seeking from others. This isn't narcissism, it's necessity. The survival protocol for the third moment requires this inward turn, not as an escape from connection, but as the very foundation that makes sustainable connection possible. When you have accepted your solitude and learned to be your own friend, you can connect with others from a place of wholeness, not lack. You are not looking for someone to complete you or fully decipher you. You are looking for fellow travelers to walk alongside on their own parallel and separate paths. Those who navigate all three of these moments successfully emerge with what I call fortified sensitivity. This is not the raw, unprotected empathy they began with. It is empathy that has been tempered by these trials. It is empathy that includes discernment, self-protection, and realistic expectations. This fortified sensitivity is more valuable than its naive predecessor because it is sustainable. It doesn't lead to burnout or bitterness. It allows you to remain open and caring while maintaining your psychological integrity. It is selective, boundaried, and realistic. You become what the archetype calls the wounded healer. Someone who has been through genuine psychological danger and transformed that wound into wisdom. Able to guide others, not from naive optimism, but from hard-won understanding. These three moments are not pathologies. They are initiations. The realization of one-sided exchange initiates you into discernment. The erosion of self initiates you into authentic selfhood. The awakening to solitude initiates you into realistic connection and deep self-companionship. Each moment, when faced with consciousness and the correct survival protocol, becomes a threshold to a more integrated, more whole version of you. But navigated unconsciously, they can lead to a kind of psychological death, a state where you are alive, but disconnected from your essence, your purpose, and your capacity for real relationship. So if you find yourself in one of these moments right now, know this: you are not broken. You are not losing your mind. You are being initiated. It will be uncomfortable, even painful, but you have the map, you have the protocols. Use them. Move through this with as much awareness as you can muster. Your capacity to feel deeply is not your weakness, it is your potential. But that potential can only be fully realized if you survive the journey. These are the survival protocols for that journey. Implement them. If this roadmap for the sensitive soul resonated with you, please give this video a like. It truly helps support this channel, Wake and Win, as we create more content to help you navigate the complexities of your inner world.